to the afterlife. However, there are a few characters on there that haven't been confirmed yet. Sister Brenda Quagmire, Lois's old boyfriend Ross Fishman, and Peter's third grade teacher Miss Wilson all appear on the boat. Sure, they weren't exactly popular characters, but we deserve some answers, dang it.
Sari underscore bot is here. Magic underscore Krydle is now live.
And in the
Streaming
episode Better Off
Fortnite,
Meg, we get
Cherry
to see an
Blossom,
updated
let's
version
grow
of Meg's
together,
ID.
Cherry
It was far
Blossom.
from beyond recognition,
Check
but
mark live
identified by her
online
body
under the
types.
category
This puts her at
Fortnite.
5'2"
The
and her
uptime
weight at
begins.
156 pounds, while her fake ID, previously seen 2 seasons ago in Crimes of Misdemeanor, listed her at 4'8" and 160 pounds. So it looks like she shed some weight and gained a few inches. Man, I am really learning more about Meg's measurements than I intended.
These are things. There you are, 97.
And the episode Holly Bibble apparently ended up replacing a different episode in this season.
This is the friendship to the open button show in this community.
According to a copyright filing, this episode was initially based on a script about 5 minutes ago. It's not clear if that script was actually about or if it's transformed into this episode or
Huh?
according to the writers, many of them decided to do that kids and they wanted to feel the horrors of all their brother last night. But this one's no surprise. I think it'd be a better show of how you let an F-bomb or two drop. Kids gotta learn at some point. It's okay, Caillou.
He said he's gone.
And the episode The Talented Mr. Stewie features the first time in the show we actually get to see Alex Borstein.
Can I just stick around a little bit so I can go up on stage when you guys feel ready?
The following scene shows the team behind The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel accepting their Emmy for Outstanding Comedy Series in 2018. In the silver dress is Miss Borstein herself, making this the first time the actor has actually appeared in Family Guy. Give her another Emmy just for that.
You don't seem maybe or something else.
And in Boys and Squirrels, Joe and Quagmire argue over an actor's name.
It's not William Defoe.
But actually, William is Willem Dafoe's real name, while Willem is used as a stage name. I guess he and Joe are just highlight that.
It's Groot. Oh yeah, from that Marvel movie.
How do we land initially had to be pulled from the broadcast schedule, yet still managed to premiere outside the U.S.? The episode was supposed to premiere on October 18, 2020, but ended up being delayed due to the National League Baseball players. However, if you were living in Canada, you would have been able to catch the episode airing on time on City TV Canada. This marks the first time an episode premiered in another country before its native one. You win this round, Canada, but don't get too cocky.
So the strange man is after the school.
And in the episode La Familia Guy, Brian is killed 3 times in a note to different crime movies. First, in the style of The Godfather,
Leave the gun. Take it from each side.
then again with a nod to The Godfather Part 2, and one last time in an ode to Fargo. Quite a lot of references to movies Peter says insists upon themselves, huh? And Meg's wedding finally cements Bruce and Jeffrey as a married couple.
I pronounce you husband and you may kiss me.
Not too bad for a guy I wasn't convinced existed for like 6 seasons. Seriously, I used to think Jeffrey was Bruce throwing his voice or something.
Jeff.
And the episode Wild Wild West is the first introduction of Goddard's replacement mayor, also known as Mayor West.
Reddit says I built 30.
A 90-second ad break
In
is
this
starting.
universe, Wild West is the
Thank
cousin
you
of
for
Adam.
sticking with us through this
This
break.
universe, the character's voice
Thanks
actor,
helps
Sam
support
Elliott,
my
is married to
content.
Catherine Ross, who had previously
Consider
voiced
subs.
Adam West's mother in the episode Heartbreaker. The universe works in roundabout ways, no doubt.
It's called a bill, man.
And in Pawtucket Pat, we get to learn of the founder of the Pawtucket Brewery, who, yes, is named Pawtucket Pat.
Pawtucket Pat is the most revered person in the world. Not anymore.
Though, not to be confused with that Pawtucket Pat from the episode Wasted Talent, who ended up selling the brewery, or the Pawtucket Patriot, who's the mascot. So, did they just take up the name of Pawtucket Pat when they owned the brewery? Was that really like a knockoff, a descendant of his? Look, it's beer, stop thinking and drinking.
The body of your river statues will remain on the top. Even the pigments are collected are in a whole quantity.
And in the episode The First Noel, Peter gives Chris some options for Christmas presents.
Chris, if you want the gas gauge fixed, then you want a year of Quibi. The gas gauge.
Quibi was a short-lived streaming platform designed around short-form mobile device-related content. Good thing Chris picked the gauge, too, because Quibi would actually shut down a few weeks before this episode aired. And nothing of value was lost. And the main plot line of the episode Fecal Matters had to be rewritten, delaying its premiere by almost a year.
Here's what's wrong. You usually start quick.
Dying, Peter. According to producer Alex Sulkin, the episode originally revolved around Peter selling superfood
The
to
ad
Tom
break
Brady.
is finishing
However,
now.
they learned that the plot was a little too similar to a South Park episode called Turd Burglars, so the episode had to be rewritten and delayed. Hey, anytime we can get an episode with a little less proof, the better.
After all these years, it's not everyone like this. Thanks, Sam. Dramatic.
And the episode Boy's Best Friend gets an element of classic car design wrong.
Sadly, that's the way last week they hope it is vintage sports.
The episode was advertised as Joe's car being a 50s Corvette, but the car is actually designed after a 50s Chrysler convertible. The main giveaway is that 50s Corvettes didn't have back seats. Not bad knowledge for a plane that doesn't know how to drive, huh?
Always have trouble blaming dirt. Okay, that's it.
And the episode And Then There's Fraud features cameos from a few Family Guy team members. Sorry for the jump scare, but look at the names in the yearbook. Jonathan Gephardt is a storyboard artist, and Hillary Packer is a production coordinator for the show. And now they're immortal in this forever in a scene I'm sure a lot of other people wish they didn't see.
Oh my God, Tyler, do you remember this? I do.
And in P Terminator, a few famous guns can be spotted in. So, young Parent Trap, Peter shows his age and how he tries to give out his phone number.
Can we get your number?
Sure. The Lakeside 478.
Before area codes became a thing, telephone messages used to be a combination of letters and numbers, with ones on Lakeside being abbreviated to LA, followed by the number. Except this practice was abandoned in the mid-60s, which I figured was when Peter was born. He's just a man of simpler old times. And then he'd drive a horse-drawn carriage. And in Meg Goes to College, Meg contemplates joining a sorority at Brown University.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys have all the best for you.
Alpha Delta Phi is one of the largest and most well-known sororities in the world, but as it turns out, Brown University actually doesn't have a chapter of the college. They do have an all-gender literary society called the Alpha Delta Phi Society, but that sounds more book-ready and less keg-standing.
They're so mean, man. They're so mean.
And in the episode Family Cat, the whole idea of control is somewhat based on real science.
Oh, it's not just a parent outside cuts.
That's a very real thing, and while mind control is traumatic, it can cause neurological and behavioral changes on hosts. While this can be minor in humans, studies in rats have shown that infected vermin may lose their feel over animals, making it easier to prey for bats. Luckily, there are no cats underwater, so come on there. They're wanting to get out of cats, right?
Yeah.
And the last episode of Season 19, Tales of Former Sports Glory, marks the first proper time Cleveland's father is seen on the show.
First base.
Despite this being LeVar Brown's first acknowledgement on the show, he was a frequently recurring character on the Cleveland show. That reminds me, how come we haven't seen Cleveland's mom on the show? In the first episode of Season 20, LASIK Instinct is also the first appearance of R.F. Saphir as the new voice of Cleveland Brown.
Lois Griffin, you guilty.
Despite this, Mike Henry is still credited as the voice of Cleveland in some carryover episodes originally intended for the previous season. But honestly, Zahir's impression is so spot on that you can barely tell.
That sentence here would have been your roommate back for his dog.
And the episode Rock Hard is dedicated to the memory of comedian Norm Macdonald, who had passed away a month before this episode aired.
He had the good sense to come over before we could see him trying to casino and go, oh, that's weird.
His time on the show was brief, but he'll be remembered forever as the dry, self-deprecating voice behind Dad in his first appearance back in Season 2.
Well, I guess you would know that. And now I'm just a dad.
And the episode Must Love Dogs takes place during Halloween, so there are a ton of references in the costumes.
I don't know who that was.
Despite what he says, Peter is dressed as Chris Farley's character from SNL, Lois is dressed as Marge from The Simpsons, Meg is dressed as Robin from Stranger Things, Everwild West is dressed as Borat, Brian is Danny Zuko from Grease, Stewie's that guy with the big mouth from That One Chip, and Peter swaps in another Joe costume, this time with Robin Redford nodding from Jeremiah Johnson. Halloween really has gone from dressing up as monsters to dressing up as a meme everyone will forget about me.
Get that?
I think we'll have a 80s guy, Doug uses his elbow to deal with one application. This may be a reference to the fact that abuse allegations were once raised against Kevin Clash, the longtime commentator of Elm. However, in this case, for this purpose, the fact doesn't mean almost clear just yet. Don't know which power must be to it. It's a darkness when he was on the scene.
Exactly the cucumber.
And the brief encounters, who is employed by Doug to take out what he believes to be a stuffed cat.
To see what I'm about to do to this tiggy.
And he picked a good knife for the job, using the knife slasher knife from the 80s action film Cobra. The perfect knife if you can't decide if you want to stab or punch your enemy, so you decide to do both.
Oh my god!
And in the episode Cootie and the Blowhard, Brian celebrates his 10th birthday.
Birthday. Johnny Space Rabbit.
This is the first time his age has been mentioned in 13 years, the last time being the man with two Bryans, making him roughly 17 years. Never got to see his 9th birthday party, but honestly, that's an age worth skipping. The whole world opens up to you once you can. You can smoke, rent a car, get drafted into the army. I'm an expert on these things.
We're here to talk about Brian getting another kid. You know, I hear he can't even bury a phone these days.
Likewise, in Peter Schmidt, Chris's official age is bumped up as well. This bumps him up from 13 years old, which stayed consistent since the beginning of the series. Well, I'm going to go 2 years in the span of 20 years and 7 years.
But it turns out
And in Birthday Bootlegger, Peter gets a new boss down at the brewery. I'm Preston Cole, the manager of the brewery and your boss. Lloyd is voiced by Peter Macon, who also plays the character of Lieutenant Commander Gordis in Seth MacFarlane's other show, The Orville. Peter's former boss is Brian Sheets. No word would be miles in this film. I'd say an investigation should be ordered. You didn't remember their names until just as long. So, 2016. And in the film Noir Paradise, where Batman always runs twice, Peter's character will make the role and two plans for their wedding. Well, marriage is a great time to get life insurance, especially considering the Summer 7th, 1941 Pearl Harbor attacks in Hawaii. The real murderers behind bars in the greater Boston area has seen its last bad news. And Christmas Prime shows off the hottest new Christmas toy, the Happy Aspen Candy.
His eyes light up when he's happy. All the credit cards are coming in front of him.
The toy is inspired by several different toys, but they seem to be partially inspired by the Furby toys, which at one time were actually banned by the NSA and the Pentagon, because a rumor had circulated around that Furbies could record conversations. All that fuss over those little furballs. Meanwhile, that sicko Teddy Ruxpin just gets to walk free.
Bag noise, passwords, okay, well, what?
And the next episode, Mr. Act, is dedicated to a member of the Family Guy team, Kirk Benson. Benson was an editor for the show, having primarily worked on the Cleveland show with over 60 episodes of the show. He also was the principal editor for 7 episodes of season 20, though he passed away before all of them.
A 90-second ad break is starting. Thank you for sticking with us through this
And in
break.
the lowest quagmire, there's some
Ads help
interesting
support more
coincidence between
content.
this episode and Stephen King's
Consider
It.
subscribing.
Do something in the sewer, but the ones have had it.
Good with anything that keeps Pennywise on the job.
The name of the dead guy we're talking about is Georgie, which happens to be the name of the sewers by Pennywise at the beginning of the movie Wait. But Pennywise has a mouth saw on because they don't exactly mean sewer drains man size.
The stuff. The crap close.
You know, what the hell is going on?
And the episode Lawyer Guy introduces us to Peter's newest neighbor in a long time, Rick Baker.
You're supposed to be over here, showing my neighbor. Peter. I am your neighbor.
While neighbors like Dan Aykroyd, Chevy Chase, and Rob Gronkowski have all come and gone after their initial episode, Rick would appear again in the episode Prescription Heroin, making this the first time the neighborhood gained a permanent resident in the neighborhood since Joe in season 1. Oh, Baker has idiot insurance.
I didn't raise no dummy.
Yeah,
That's right. That almost rhymes.
And like Alex Borstein in The Talented Mr. Stewie, Seth Green makes his first physical appearance in Family Guy in the episode HBO No.
It should take an intense space run, backstory reach.
And while Chris does that run, he witnesses clips of Seth Green in the show Greg the Bunny, the movie Can't Hardly Wait, and the show Dads. No wonder it makes Chris break down and cry. I haven't heard of any of these.
Can't believe we're doing Big Little Lies and I'm not trained.
And the episode Hard Boiled Egg features the voice talents of Glenn
The
Writer
ad break
himself,
is
Zachary
finishing
Levi.
now.
All right, Nick. That was awesome.
Before this episode, we found out that had another connection to the Family Guy. Hazel, which Alex Borstein also stars in. That's Hollywood. It's not about what you know, but who you vaguely know from a very short stint on the show where your characters didn't even really interact.
It's their Memorial Day sale this weekend.
Big Joe.
Big savings. Cross restaurants.
And Prescription Heroin is a callback to an early guy in Family Guy's history. Stewie did the same thing to Lois all the way back in season 5 Stewie Loves Lois. Too bad for her, she was living in the dark times before those canceling things.
Audible presents Times We've Been Used. All three episodes.
And the episode All About Alana features the second collaboration between Seth MacFarlane and guest voice actor Elizabeth Gillies.
Okay, that's pretty good. But I don't feel.
MacFarlane and Gillies previously collaborated on until later one night for a Christmas album in 2023 called Wish You the Merriest. Some folks use Reliable, just maybe not as reliable.
And sex on TV.
And a girlfriend A, Lois, passed off after seeing the handsome Andy. The scene of overjoyed ground control operators is actually from the landing of NASA's Curiosity rover on Mars in 2012. Unfortunately for Lois, there are no handymen on Mars, but that's what the Curiosity rover is there to discover. That's a heck of a way to spend $2.9 billion.
Well, it's still a good voice. It should drive you so.
And the episode First Blood is the third episode of the season in which Meg doesn't have any lines.
Well, Meg insisted in one corner of the grill be vegan, and then she ate her food on a pivot.
This continues the long-run record of Meg being the one Griffin with the least amount of speaking appearances in each season. I guess they just think Mila's making too much money. Won't be long before Seth ends up voicing Meg too. And the last episode of season 20, Jersey Boar, has another case of an advertised voice actor not making it into the show.
We're auditioning for a new villain. The parents of the boy we cast and need an emergency conversion therapy.
Chris's love interest in this episode, Heather, was originally advertised to be voiced by Melissa Hook, but the role was ultimately voiced by Rachel McFarlane for unknown reasons. There's only 3 things guaranteed in life: death, taxes, and hearing McFarlane and family members. In the first episode of season 21, Mr. Guy has a pretty roundabout moment with Chris's voice actor, Seth Green.
I can't seem to get this started. Thanks to everyone.
In the parody of The Silence of the Lambs, Chris portrays the film's serial killer Buffalo Bill. Seth Green has previously stated that Chris's initial voice was inspired by this character. After a hint to it in the show here and there, Green finally gets the chance to do his full-on impression. It kind of sounds like Green is leaning back into the Buffalo Bill inspo in the recent episodes too. Being a shrill, screaming teenager for 25 years has got to have hurt the vocal cords.
It puts the offspring lotion on its skin, or else it gets the hose again.
And in Bendor Blockbuster, Britain's journey to Oregon is a new blockbuster story existence. It is real, as the Blockbuster in Bend, Oregon still remains the only operating Blockbuster store in existence. However, the family also brings up the last standing Circuit City store in San Francisco, Florida, which doesn't actually exist. But where the heck am I supposed to get my circuits from?
The last Circuit City in the U.S. is in St. Augustine, Florida. Let's go.
And a life-changing experience marks to date the 16th and final reference to Stewie's Cool Whip pronunciation.
Check out the new Quick.
Originating in Season 5's Barely Legal, the Cool Whip joke has been one of the show's most enduring and often quoted running gags, ranging in ways and forms. I can only hope it's annoyed people in the real world as much as it's annoyed Brian. Cool Whip, Cool Whip, Cool Whip, Cool Whip, Cool Whip, you're in there! And the episode The Manchurian Candidate almost resolves a goal of Peter's from almost 15 years ago. Maybe he's just acting terrified because Lois is there, but if you think back to 2007's Journey, Peter stated he always found Barbara hot and actually tried to sleep with her at one point. Though I don't think hypnotized foreplay was exactly on the menu. And the episode Unzipped Code gives Cleveland his fourth co-on-base job. How would you like a job here at the Buffalo Grain Company? Cleveland's previous employment consisted of working at deli, working as a therapist, and as a postal worker. And then if you look at the Cleveland show, you can also see that he had the job of cable installer as well. He's a jack of all trades, except when it comes to keeping his job, or his voice actor.
Dang it, this is work. Sleep over.
And Happy Halloween is the first time Larry, the title character Peter was initially based on, makes an appearance on the show. It's kind of surprising it took this long for the show to outright acknowledge its origins, but it's still a cool little nod to those who are in this. Now, if someone can check Steve out.
Oh, come on.
And in the Stew Away, we learn about more social media handles and scooter shooting incidents. Bonnie's Instagram is revealed to be BonSwan365, Cleveland's is Cleveland Brown Rocks, and Myers is Beauty Glen Field. And since Bonnie now holds the record for most likes, that means she's the star of the show. That's just show business, baby. So what? And the episode Get Stewie is celebrated as the 400th episode of Family Guy.
It's the lava. It's the lava.
In reality, it's actually only the 307th episode of the release. But what is true is that the episode was pitched to the producers by Seth MacFarlane, who at this point was pretty hands-off on the creative side and only really did voice work for the show. Leave it to Seth to know a little thing or two about crazy outspoken fans.
Name your rules.
And the episode Party Doll, which sees the return of a voice actor whose character has not been
The one that smells like all different peas mixed together.
Ryan's current girlfriend Amber is voiced by Nicole Sullivan. For the longest time, voiced Maria Goldman before the whole getting stabbed in the back thing. And now her voice can live on through what I can only describe as a punk rock magazine cover content.
You don't know a single Kid Rock lyric or the names of any trust.
And the candidate confirms the death of a, well, not beloved character, but a character.
So and died in the potential name crash to tell me.
Confirmed to be what actually happened and not a one-off joke, Stewie's rival for the past few seasons has been bringing out the show to the happiness of probably a lot of people. All it takes is a few seconds with this kid and you'll understand the hate. Stewie? I had no idea. I run into the town square, but the episode Love Story Guy is the actual 400th episode of Family Guy.
Was shot in his eyes out.
Kind of crazy that the show made it this far after 2 cancellations. Kind of crazy that I sat down and watched every episode for these videos. Kind of crazy is probably the best way to describe my brain after this. And the episode Old West currently sits in the top 5 of the worst Family Guy episodes. Most reviewers just saw the episode as boring and pointless, which is kind of why I picked this as the episode's fact. Look, there are over 400 of these. Not every one of them is something interesting to talk about.
Basically dried him found in the desert.
And the episode Single White Dad gets its name from the film Single White Female.
What can I do?
We start more coffee all over it.
But unfortunately, the episode isn't about Peter living with his frequent roommate who slowly starts to dominate and take over the line. Wait, I think I just described the plot of All About a Month.
I thought that I was inspired.
And White Knight Can't Jump features one of the last voice work appearances of Gilbert Godfrey.
I am Gilbert Godfrey. I was inspired by him for no reason.
This episode wouldn't air until a year after he passed, but I'm glad Family Guy got to use him for what he does best, speaking loudly and shrilly for no good reason.
The other two were disqualified.
And the first thing about you, like they brought up plus members to delivery on more than just delivery on these apples and this shirt. The Walmart you thought you knew is now new.
Access your home equity quickly, easily, and with expert guidance at mortgage.com.
This is what
Where do we start?
What makes you think this people know something new?
Oh, yeah. What's that?
The 90-second ad break is starting. Thank you for sticking with us through this break. Ads help support my content. Consider subs.
Some things just feel better. Right now, watch the TikTok.
Oh, come on.
In the episode Adaptation, Peter's with both animation galaxies.
Back up all the way into the show performance. Wife talking about a dream.
Both Bob from Bob's Burgers and Homer from The Simpsons appear in this photo. Makes sense, as all three shows have a lot of fun. They all center around Dumbling families, they're produced by 20th Century, and they've all won the Emmy for Outstanding Animated Program. Oh, wait.
Why did two sets of prizes?
One's the Emmy winner discount.
And in the episode The Bird Right, Chris makes a bold claim about Reese Witherspoon that actually ended up having some truth to it.
You know, her husband Jim failed at Quibi, reportedly straining their Hollywood super marriage.
Regardless of if anything Chris just said is true, Witherspoon and Helen really announced their divorce a month before this episode aired. And these episodes are usually written like a year in advance, so now I have to wonder just how much the writers know about celebrity relationships. I guess if the show goes under, there'll always be TMZ for them.
Identity compromise, abort mission.
And the bottle episode is
The ad
actually
break
named
is
kind of
finishing
ironically.
now.
Sometimes all a family needs is a change of scenery to strengthen their bonds.
The bottle episode is a term used to describe an episode of television that typically takes place in one location with limited characters and props to save money. What makes this ironic is that a good chunk of the episode takes place in an entirely different city that gets returned to multiple times. The bottle in the title comes from the shampoo bottle in the plot, and that is a bottle of quote insane.
Yo! That's huge, Mom! That sounds like
And finally, Rollo features a guest appearance from Saturday Night Live.
Down the bed, that will always. But, protect them all for
Carol voices Moses in Elderly and I Watch from the Brewery, and he previously had a role as co-op newcomer Britt Baker. You're telling me he voices two characters? So unheard of for a show.
surprise thing. We can't actually see you.
Yeah, you're still in the shadows.
Damn.
And in the episode From Russia with Love, we get to see Meg speak some pretty solid Russian,
The bride woman. Do probably Instagram.
which didn't seem to be very difficult considering Meg's voice actor Mila Kunis is fluent in Russian, with it actually being her first language. Spasibo Skuchak,
If you watch enough super dark videos on the internet, eventually you're gonna learn it.
And the last episode of Season 21, Adult Education, marks the first time in nearly 25 years that Meg was voiced by Rachel McFarlane, though only as her singing voice.
There was the onion man. He smells like heaven.
Before Lacey Chabert, there was Seth MacFarlane's sister taking on the role of Meg in the original unaired pilot for Family Guy. For that very brief time, one could actually believe that Meg was just a normal girl and not the family's little weirdo.
I remember when Skitty was born. He was the only baby I've ever seen who came out smiling.
And the first episode of season 22, Fertilized Meg, sees the third time a Griffin has been pregnant.
Guys, my water just broke.
Oh, right, I forgot we were doing it.
Lois had her own pregnancy episode with the band Partial Terms of Endearment, and unfortunately, there's also a Stewie pregnancy episode with season 13, Stewie is Unsigned. Can this be embarrassing when your toddler brother has a baby before you do? And in Supermarket Pete, Joe and Brian get caught up in the podcaster Turf War, featuring some that are a little close to home.
I planned this whole case for you.
First, the trio that joins the fray are the hosts of the podcast A Typical Disgusting Display, who all work on Family Guy in some capacity. Alex Sopin is the co-showrunner, Julia Sharp is a co-executive producer, and Janice Cruz is the sound editor. Can't even call this a shameless plug, just a little nod for those of you in the know, or those of you who read IMDb trivia.
Great and reveal my life.
And in the episode of Staff from the Past, Peter's convinced to get a reverse mortgage on his house after seeing a commercial with Tom Selleck.
This isn't my first rodeo. And I wouldn't be here if I thought reverse mortgages would hurt anyone.
In reality, Tom Selleck has been a spokesperson for all reverse mortgages since 2016, and this episode was kind of a hit piece on the whole concept. Sorry, Family Guy, but I don't think this episode really speaks to my generation. We can't even afford a mortgage, so how am I supposed to reverse slide to the left 2 hops this time when I don't even have?
I earned my back on it. And I earned my back on buying a stash.
And the episode Old War Hummer makes a little pinch about the trouble behind Peter and Lois almost getting their body parts removed.
Two organs at least good young meatbags between me and Snow. Who gets what?
On the body part division chart that Lois finds, we see a number of people have called dibs on their body parts. And on Peter's end, somebody named Joey is planning to claim his legs. Now I wonder who that could be. Did you get this? Damn it. And in Baby It's Cold Inside, we learn what Dave, Peter, and Lois' wedding anniversary is.
You know what today is. Yeah, I thought it's Sullivan's birthday. And make another special day.
He also suggests that it's National Boxing Day, actually celebrated on June 21st. But maybe he got it mixed up with National Hot Dog Day, which does fall on the same date as the actor's birthday, meaning that their wedding took place on July 17th. But please tell me Peter hasn't been out here eating dachshunds by mistake.
Oh, you're right. You know, Instagram? Yep.
And the episode Boston Stewie gives us a glimpse of Meg's phone, or at least her business number.
Go get a business plan and see capital and ask for a registered in the state of Delaware and then maybe.
When Meg's setting up her fans-only business, we see her phone number on her small business form to be 401-555-0189. But because it's a 555 number, it doesn't connect to anything cool when you try to call it. It's not that I tried, but for some cake-sitting content, though. And in Snapple Decision, Brian makes a bold claim about Stewie's accent.
I think you exaggerate your accent. You wear skirts for museums you never been to.
Brian's actually right on the money, because in season 16, Stewie admits he does put on a British accent for confidence. But he also said he's never told anyone this. So if Brian does know, then it's nice of him to play along with it for all these years. Especially since that shtick would have gotten old really fast. This is so stupid.
You're stupid.
And the episode Baking Sad is the second episode in the series to reference the show Breaking Bad, and the second to do so with a baking con.
Family tears falling into the batter must have made these cookies taste different.
Look, I get it, it's hard to come up with puns. But if you want to do another baking episode, I'll throw you some previews. Game of Scones, The Marvelous Mrs. Hazelnut, Downton Abbey, The Batterer. No payment required, just a certificate that says Comedy Master will do.
We're proud of you two. We got cookies today. Give us those here.
And in The Return of the King of Queens, Peter gets challenged in 100 sitcoms whose pilot begins with someone showing up at the front door.
Good girl, 4.5 men, monkey roaster, perfect strangers, ranger, Will and Grace, Prince, Joey, home economics.
He actually only ends up at 55, but that's just because the show flashes forward to save time. Still, the fact they were able to dig up 55 instances of a show's pilot starting this way is impressive, and kind of insane. Originality may have died a long time ago. And in the episode Cabin Pressure, Dustin makes reference to a very bizarre murder case. Like, small town basement. This is in reference to the 2001 death of Kathleen Peterson, who was found dead at the bottom of her stairs by her husband Michael. Because of the bizarre nature of her death, many theories arose over the cause, including that a barn owl may have flown into the attic and attacked her and knocked her down the stairs. Preston has every right to be scared. That owl may still be out there looking for another victim to pin a murder.
I've been crushed in fire if you can't get inside.
And in Teacher's Heavy Pet, a scandalous picture of Lois makes its way to Reddit.
So acts like a machine. There's a subreddit that seems gay.
Well, there was a subreddit called RSoKini, but it was banned due to lack of moderation. But there's a subreddit for everything, so those will probably make up that Reddit golden filter.
Wait, some kings.
As of right now, Take This Job and Love It is the final episode in which Brian does not appear.
Ever since I was a kid, I always pictured myself as
This marks the 7th episode in which Brian doesn't appear, ranking him 4th for the least amount of episode appearances from the main cast, heavily behind Peter at number 1, Stewie at number 2, and Lois at number 3. Even Donna gets an appearance in this episode. She's coming for your spot, Brian.
Got it, M. Or is it maybe M-H-M, if you pronounce it?
And is fun.
Lifeguard Meg has a fun coincidence with the killer aircraft.
The only lifeguard test left is for you to run all Sultry in slow motion.
Melville Jingle is from The Benny Hill Show and is commonly used in comedic chase sequences. Oddly enough, the show that aired right before this episode, Animal Control, also aired an episode with this song before this one premiered. Whoever owns the rights to that song was even good then. Okay, we can haircut that. And the episode Fat Actor makes reference to a current event that actually affected this season of the show.
And thanks to the unnecessarily long writer's strike, we were unable to write a current joke for this speech.
This is in reference to the 2023 Screen Actors Guild strikes, which halted the production of both television shows and movies, including Family Guy. That's why season 22 is only 15 episodes long, the first season to break the trend of 20 episodes in almost 8 years. Remember to tip your voice actors, everybody. And in the final episode of season 22, Faith No More, God's mailbox number is 777.
You will never do stand-up comedy, I forget it.
In biblical numerology, 777 is often considered to be a representation of the Holy Trinity, or the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, which now makes me wish we could have seen more of Jesus' supposedly Holy Ghost sidekick.
What'd you do, Trunks?
And that's every Family Guy episode. If you're wondering where season 23 is, it's still being released at the time of this writing, and we'll have a whole separate video covering that one once it finishes up. In the meantime, if you want to see more great Family Guy videos, be sure to subscribe to the channel and check out our other interesting fact videos if you haven't already.
No, it's here. It's finally here. I've been waiting so long.
A 90-second ad break is starting. Thank you for sticking with us through this break. Ads help support my content. Consider subscribing.
Make sure to download one.
He's the only person who could get under your skin.
So much you know. Just go and train on the track.
This is one interesting fact for every episode of Family Guy. But full disclosure, this will be just part 1 and 3 because otherwise this video would be literally 3 hours long. So this video will cover season 1 to season 8, then we'll flip to season 3. Below the link to the next part. Okay, so let's start off with the very first episode of Family Guy, Death as a Shadow.
Throw the bell. Touch these lips behind. You want the late Prince of Beard right here.
It's obvious that this episode is a higher quality version of the show's original pilot, but quite a few scenes originate even further back to Seth MacFarlane's original pitch for the show, The Life of Larry, which would eventually morph into the 30-craft show we know and love.
The ad break is finishing now.
These scenes include God being embarrassed by retelling the story of Job, Peter having an outburst while watching the movie Philadelphia, as well as having his first fart at age 30. Some gags are just worth holding on to for 5 years. Next up is I Never Met the Dead Man. Despite this being the second episode in the series, it was technically the premiere episode. Death Has a Shadow was aired following the 1999 Super Bowl, but the show would officially reach premiere status a few weeks later with the premiere of this episode. Just because it came second doesn't mean it can't come first. Not sure that makes much sense outside of this context, but hey, maybe somebody will find some inspiration behind it.
Just another word for love.
And next is Jimmy Jimmy Death.
very good reason.
Oh, wait a second. These are all classics.
This is the only episode in season 1 that does not have a cold opening or a little scene that comes before the intro musical number. According to a copy of the production script, there's apparently supposed to be a scene involving The Price is Right with Bob Barker. Not sure why this was cut, but maybe Brian strong-armed it so Barker could preach about fixing your dogs.
Help control the pet population.
And your pet away, Lily.
And following that is Mind Over Murder.
If you guys were big, I would bring everyone to.
This episode is home to the show's first musical number involving the cast with Lois serenading the Duke's Underground Club. Hard to believe it wasn't McFarlane doing this first with one of the 300 characters he voices, but it's nice that he gave Alex Borstein the distinction. Next up is A Hero Sits Next Door, which is also the first appearance of the Swanson family, with Joe, Bonnie, and Kevin.
You must be Peter. Just what? Yeah, nice to meet you.
Because everyone knows that. What you may not have noticed is that this is the first episode to not have any mention of death in the title. The team originally wanted every episode to be something dramatic to mimic old radio plays, but they kind of gave up on that episode. And who can blame them? Hollow was already run out of plan points, so I'm sure they would have blown through all their death jokes in a few seasons.
Holy crap, is a crackle.
The next episode, The Sun Also Draws, had a line in it that, according to Family Guy, the official episode guide, drummed up some of the most hate-mail the series had seen at that point. So what was the shocking, abhorrent, controversial line that had people up in arms?
Canada starts.
Ooh, sounds like some people got their maple leaves into this. It may be important to point out that the writer of this episode is Canadian himself. So, hey, take it up with a self-hating Canadian, I suppose. And now for the final episode of Season 1, Ryan, Portrait of a Dog.
Stop being a bad dog.
This episode is the first time we hear of the Griffin's address as it's seen on an envelope reading 725 Square Street. This will later be retconned to 31 Square Street.
31 Square Street for 12 years.
So that's why Peter hasn't responded to my fan mail. Hopefully whoever lives at 725 is going to cool with me stuffing up their mailbox. Oh, hold on, not like that. And that brings us to Season 2, with its first episode, Peter Caviar.
It's no state spring, it's sweet.
So this is the first episode where we learn that Lois's family is connected, and we're also introduced to Lois's parents, brother, and Barbara Peterson. And thus began the many years of Peter getting beat up by Kurt. A time-honored tradition we still celebrate to this day. But the next episode, Holy Crap, was thought by some to be the show's last.
Holy mother! It's not holy mother!
And right after this episode aired, Family Guy was pulled from Fox's broadcast schedule due to low ratings and the fact that it competed with much more popular shows in its time slot, like Frasier and Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. The show would return later to finish out the season, though, so it was saved from death, only to be canceled at the end of the season. It was so young, ripped away in his prime. In the next episode, The Boom is home to another first in the series. This is the first episode where Peter Quince officially takes the reins as the voice of Mac. R.I.P. Lacey Chabert. She's not dead, though maybe she wished she was after missing out on the role of a lifetime. Next up is the episode Brian in Love.
Oh, God, no, again. Why can't you stop being on the carpet?
This episode was the first of the series to be aired on Adult Swim, Cartoon Network's late-night adult-oriented programming. It was Family Guy's high ratings on Adult Swim that eventually convinced Fox to revive the series after it was canceled. So, in a weird way, this episode kind of led the charge in getting Family Guy brought back. Everybody say, thank you, Brian in Love.
Oh my God! You can talk!
Up next is Love Thy Trophy, which is the episode cited as being the one that created the Quagmire character.
Hey, down here you look like a tiger.
According to the DVD commentary for the season, Seth MacFarlane credits this episode with being the one that solidified Quagmire as more than just Peter's neighbor, but, as he quoted it, a heartless town.
What's all the noise, boys? I was just certain if that was sound sleep.
We wouldn't want him any other way. Well, almost. Next up is Death is a Bitch, which introduces us to fan favorite character and the titular biatch, Death.
Oh, the doctor. Well, I guess he must know, right? I mean, he's a doctor and everything. And I'm just,
Dad.
So Family Guy's caught a lot of flack over the years for being derivative of The Simpsons, but that doesn't mean The Simpsons didn't do the same thing to them. 3 years after this episode aired, The Simpsons aired a Treehouse of Horror segment called The Madness, which contained a similar plot involving Homer taking over the role of Death.
But I am not a Grim Reaper.
Simpson showrunner Al Jean claims he had no idea Family Guy had done this 3 years prior. famous black icon Peter Griffin, ladies and gentlemen. In actuality, this ended up being some cheeky foreshadowing, as Peter would later learn he had a black ancestor in Season 3's Peter Griffin husband, father, and brother. And following